Hello, folks. Well, I was invited to give a speech at the Memorial Day ceremony in Melvin, Iowa this past week by the VA Director Craig Sorensen. We did not video the speech, but we did record most of it. Hello, folks. Well, thanks a lot for coming today, and thanks to Craig Sorensen and the City of Melvin for inviting me to speak today. I am totally honored. I'm going to place my cover here on this bench to represent those not present. Well, as mentioned, I'm a retired Marine veteran, and I've seen many things in my 34-year military career, and even more in the other 40 years. Now I'm 74. But this year, with COVID and all the riots, at least for me, it's really been a challenge, and I'm sure many of you would agree. Well, Memorial Day is set aside to remember our past military veterans who died while in service. These people were the greatest warriors to ever walk the face of the earth. They gave their all, and they died in our past conflicts. These folks gave up so much more than many of our younger generation could possibly know or want to give up today, that's for sure. Years of service, marriage, and their lives. Many who survived also suffered horrible disabilities. They dealt with post-traumatic stress, and they dealt with trauma. Well, Memorial Day is a somber remembrance to these folks that number over 1.4 million people who gave their lives so we can be here today. In the last century, millions of Americans fought and hundreds of thousands died in many wars. And I'll break that down for you, starting with the American Civil War. The American Civil War was fought between the northern and Pacific states and the southern states that voted to secede from the Union and form the Confederate States of America. The central cause of the war was the status of slavery, especially in the territories. And the casualty count was between 620 and 750,000. Well, that was when Abraham Lincoln decided to sign the Emancipation Proclamation to free the slaves. He later set the day as Decoration Day, which was later renamed Memorial Day. The reason it was called Decoration Day was so folks could decorate the fallen soldiers' graves. Well, next, in World War I, some 4 million soldiers were mobilized to fight Germany, Austria, Hungary, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire. There are still 4,400 folks missing in action. In World War II, over 16 million soldiers fought against the German Nazis, Japan, and Italy, where over 400,000 lost their lives at the Battle of Sicily, Anzio, the Atlantic, Normandy, Dragoon, the Battle of the Bulge, Iwo Jima, Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan, Okinawa, and many more. There are still 72,000 who are missing in action. Just think of that. Well, then, during the Cold War with the Soviet Union, Americans fought the spread of communism, including Korea, where the Soviets and the Chinese-backed communists in the northern part of the Korean peninsula invaded the South. Over 5.7 million Americans were engaged in that war, and nearly 34,000 lost their lives. And there are still 7,800 servicemen missing in action. Well, then came Vietnam. Almost 3 million Americans served in the Vietnam War. It was intended to prevent the Soviets and the Chinese-backed communists in the northern part of the country from taking over the South. You see, those people in the South asked us to help them become free. They wanted to live and be free just like us. Well, that didn't work out so good. Over 58,000 Americans lost their lives, and many more sustained disabling injuries in that war as well. And there are still 7,800 Americans missing in action. I was there in 1969 and 1970, and I remember it was like yesterday. It's pretty hard to forget the things we saw, or how we were treated when we came home. Well, sadly, there have been many more battles fighting against terrorism, such as the Gulf, Iraq, and Afghanistan wars. You know, you have to ask yourself, why has the human race been fighting with each other so long? I mean, what's up with that? Only God knows, and someday I'm sure we're going to find out. You know, I would bet many of you are relatives of veterans or know someone who's serving our country in the military today. And contrary to what you may be hearing on social media and the news, I believe America is still a great country. America is not an imperialist country, and certainly not a colonizing country. You know, unlike some of our enemies, we don't seek to conquer other countries just to increase occupation or territorial expansion. We have fought and died and still do to protect the oppressed from one end of the world to the other, not to occupy. We do this regardless of religion, skin color, ethnicity, or race for those victimized around the world. In America, generation after generation has been willing to sacrifice everything for our freedom, and other countries' freedoms as well. There have been so many who paid the ultimate price in defense of our magnificent country and its founding principles to protect us from foreign enemies so much that we owe them. We can't forget them or why they died, and we must teach our children about this. I recently read that there was a group of students signing a petition to abolish Memorial Day because they think those heroes were imperialists. Well, that's absurd. And that's why they must be taught of our real past. Those fallen heroes believed in America and its founding principles. They knew America was worth fighting and dying for. Many of us and our family members were among them, and I know you remember, and I know you will never forget. Well, things are a little different today. You know, that really disappoints me, along with those who stood up for America in the past, and for those who protect us today, including the police. I'm just so totally disappointed that our history is being ignored, mostly in the schools and colleges where the teachers teach their opinions and not history. You know, I've never heard anybody lining up to go live in Cuba, Venezuela, Russia, China, or North Korea. But those countries' citizens are sure lining up to come here. Why? Well, it's because of what our veterans did for us and what America stands for. We are standing on the freedom foundation of what they died to protect, and we cannot let that go. So I want to personally thank all the veterans from the bottom of my heart, as there are quite a lot of them and their families here today. I would like to know that they will all be remembered. One, because you are still alive to tell the story of those early days and deserve credit for that. And two, for those who also are still willing to give your all for America's freedom today. I know if I'm called, I will go. So with God as our witness, we pledge to honor our veterans and pay a mortal tribute to those who laid down their lives so we can remain free. I say we must safeguard what those fearless patriots gave and to remember those heroes from generations past who did not make it, for they are the pinnacle of what America stands for. We must continue to uphold our values and protect our home. Again, to those past veterans who gave their lives for our freedom, and to those here today, we will cherish you from now, always, and forever. So in closing, I ask you to remember them when visiting cemeteries, when seeing our flag, and to pray we never ever have another terrible war. But if we do, I know we will be ready. And to quote a famous past president, I say, we must always stand for our flag and only kneel before our God. Thanks so kindly for coming today and for remembering these heroes. God bless you, our veterans, and God bless America. Semper Fi, and thank you. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you very much.